Hey guys, welcome to episode 12 of the Tech Check. Before we begin, here's a word from our sponsor.
Today's sponsor is Anchor. If you haven't heard about Anchor, it's the easiest way to make a podcast. Let me explain. It's free. It has creation tools that allows you to create and edit podcasts right from your phone or computer. Anchor also distributes your podcast for you on multiple platforms such as Spotify and Apple Podcasts. You can make money with no minimum listenership, and everything is in one place to create a podcast. Download Anchor on the App Store or Play Store, or you can go to anchor.fm to create your podcast today.
All right, guys, welcome back to episode 12 of the Tech Check. Today we're going to be continuing our little mini series about PCs. So we're going to be talking about storage today. So, Vinay, what are like two I guess main storage types?
All right, so the first storage type is the SSD, which is
Hmm.
basically a solid state drive that uses integrated circuit assemblies to store data persistently, typically
Hmm.
using flash memory and functioning as secondary storage in the hierarchy of computer storage. That's just the
Alright.
copy paste definition from Google.
I was
And
about to
now,
say, it sounds like
yeah,
it
it's
sounds like it
literally the
came
copy
straight from
paste
Google.
definition from Google.
Alright,
And the HDD is the hard disk drive.
Yeah, and then
which is just
also,
it's the same thing as like a hard drive for anybody who's, well, it is a
Yeah,
hard drive for anybody who's wondering.
yeah,
yeah.
and I mean there are hybrids like SSHDs where you can get again, we're gonna go more into like the differences between SSD and HDDs, like also like price being one of the biggest points, but SSHDs meet like the price points, but also like the speeds of SSD. So it's kind of like like sort of like a middle ground between SSD and HDD. But I mean, usually those are used in laptops and stuff like that. But I mean, you could get like 3.5-inch ones for desktops.
Yeah. So, I mean, what do you guys think are the differences between the SSD and HDD? Like, what do you think our listeners should know about?
So SSDs and HDDs, one of the main differences is speed and price. So, so speed, like SSDs are like much faster, like significantly faster than HDDs, just simply because there's literally no moving components inside, and they use like flash storage. So it's just a lot more faster when you're loading up browsers or starting up your computer or really loading anything on your computer when you're doing it from an SSD drive rather than an HDD drive. But price wise, HDD really is like has the advantage there because you can get a ton of storage for much cheaper than SSD. So like for example, you can get like the Seagate Barracuda like 2 terabyte HDD for like around like 50 to like $60. And then you can get like a 2 terabyte like Intel SSD. I mean, it is an M.2 SSD, but you can get like an Intel SSD, which is only 1 terabyte, and it's like $70. So you get a lot more storage in HDD for cheaper prices, but at the sacrifice for speed.
Yeah, I mean, one way of looking at it for those who play on consoles like Xbox, PlayStation, if you compare the current gen consoles compared to next gen consoles, we're transitioning from HD to SDD. And you can see how with these next gen consoles, we're focusing more on the SSD and how that SSD is supposed to absolutely delete loading times compared to before, where with the hard drive, yes, you do have a ton of storage, but at the same time, you don't get those loading screen transitions. You know, you still have those loading screens, and it's yeah,
Yeah, I mean, if you're on console and you're looking to upgrade your storage, buy like an SSD, don't get an HDD. If you're building a PC, it really depends on your budget because then again, SSDs are really expensive. So you could go for like an SSD HDD hybrid sort of system. So you have like SSD where like a small like I don't know like either 240 gigs or 512 gig SSD just for your operating system and like browsers and like applications that you're going to use on the daily or like a lot. And then for much larger files like games and stuff like that, you can put it on your hard drive. Because I mean, although loading time is not going to be cut down in the HDD, but you get
You
a
can
lot
hold
more
the stuff.
storage in the HDD rather than the SSD. So you can set up your system like that. It's usually recommended that you set up your system like that because it's
Yeah.
just a lot of money for an SSD.
Unless you're Protham and you decide to just buy a 1 terabyte SSD.
I'm still getting the HDD.
Oh, you are?
Yeah.
All right. But how would you know?
Oh, because he showed me his build.
Yeah.
All right.
I'm basically
That's
getting
besides the
his
point.
build, but downgraded a ton.
Yeah.
All right. Well, yeah. Besides the point. Next on. I know we touched about this before, but if you're building a PC, what is the best approach, in your opinion, when it comes to storage?
Yeah. So yeah,
It also
basically like
depends on I think personally, I think it depends almost entirely on your budget.
Budget.
If
Yeah.
you have essentially no budget at all and can't afford to have an SSD, you kind of have to go with an HDD. Um, that being said, if you have like a mid-range budget, which is what about 1K to 1.5 grand,
hmm
so actually 800 to 1.5 grand, 1.5K, right? That would then you could probably afford a good SSD for like a terabyte, and then add a hard drive on top of that so you can have more storage. And if you're
yeah.
going for a stupid expensive PC build, you may as well just stack up on SSDs.
I mean, it also depends on your compatibility with other parts, like especially in motherboard, because if your motherboard doesn't support M.2 slots, you're gonna have to like get SATA connectors like SSDs. So it also depends like not only on your budget, but like where you're gonna or like what connectivity type you want for your SSD. Like if you want an M.2 connectivity, which has lower latency and it's a lot easier to put up like install on your PC, and it's a lot better because you don't have like all these wires going everywhere. But I mean, if your motherboard doesn't have that like PCI Express slot to like connect the M.2, then you're gonna have to stick with like the SATA 3 SSD connectors. But I mean, yeah, mainly price is where you're gonna make your decision. Because if you can afford the SSD, you could probably afford a motherboard that supports M.2.
Interesting. Interesting. Yeah. All right. So I guess moving on. What do you guys think will be the storage of the future? Do you think SSDs will totally replace traditional hard drives? What are your thoughts on possibly like cloud taking over all of this?
I mean, I don't know if SSDs will totally replace hard drives like yet, just because of like the huge price difference. I mean, definitely in the future, I feel like SSDs could get cheaper just because like I don't know, people would want more speed and maybe storage might be easier to fit into SSDs or like cheaper to fit in. But I mean, ultimately in the future, it would probably be cloud. I mean, that'd be like way, way down the line. I'm not saying like it's gonna come anytime
Yeah.
soon because we already have
Yeah,
cloud storage, but it's like I'm talking about cloud storage to the point where you don't need any physical components for storage, like where you don't need to buy an SSD or a hard drive, where you can just store it on the cloud.
yeah. Current cloud technology isn't good enough per se to overrun SSDs and hard drives completely. So that's what uh, I agree with Pratham saying that if a cloud technology develops, which it almost definitely will, once it develops to the point where, like Pratham say, you don't need SSD or an HDD, that's when cloud games, well, not cloud game, but cloud storage is going to take over. Um, with the topic of SSDs replacing hard drives, like Pratham said, the sheer price difference between the two and the amount of effort put into creating an SSD compared to an HD, I don't really see it happening for the foreseeable future. I mean, it might happen down the line, but at the moment, no, not really. It's going to probably remain the same until, again, cloud becomes better.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, like, if you were to put a time on it, how many years do you think it will take for cloud software to be that prevalent, rather than SSDs and HDDs?
I mean, honestly, I don't really know.
It
It,
depends on how motivated people are. I mean, at the moment, it doesn't seem like many companies are really pursuing cloud storage that much.
no, I'd
I
say on the
mean,
contrary, most of
I
them
mean,
are.
Google definitely
Because
probably
you
is.
have
well,
now you have cloud-based gaming coming out that's actually like really
yeah,
off. You have NVIDIA GeForce, you
Project
have,
Tempo, which is Amazon sort of thing.
and then there's already one by,
Stadia, right?
no, yeah, Stadia, and then there's like an older one by like another company, I forget. But like it's actually getting more popular now. So I think people are already motivated to do it. It's just we just don't have the technology to do it.
And
And
streaming too. Like you have Netflix, Hulu, a lot of like
yeah,
those
yeah,
stuff.
that's also cloud storage too. So
yeah. All right, my bad. But
No, not
in that, well,
really. Like,
in that case, then it's probably just gonna be an exponential growth from here, kind of like how space travel was a couple of years ago.
yeah.
yeah,
We're just gonna see a massive boom in cloud technology.
Especially now with the whole like pandemic and stuff. Like I feel like, I mean,
I
if
don't.
any time, now would be the time to like really advance technology.
Yeah, I mean, I think they're more gonna advance SSDs before cloud.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, of course, of course. I mean, I don't know. I feel like Google, I don't like, I feel like Google will definitely create something big soon. I mean, like, I don't know. That's just my
that's
personal
not
take.
vague.
That is that I don't know, because like I know Google had like Google Photos, right? And that was, I wouldn't say revolutionary, but like it's super big because now you can have like an unlimited amount of photos and not worry about it like taking up all your storage on your phone. So I
Right.
feel like Google could totally come out with something. I mean, they also have Stadia, right? So like they've been in this business for a while. So I totally think that they could totally create some sort of cloud software to the point where you don't need an SSD or HDD. But I don't
I
know.
mean,
I mean,
yeah, I
It's
that's
can
just
see
storing
interesting.
that.
stuff on a server. Like it's not that hard to store pictures on the server. Because
Yeah, of
like
course, of
you
course.
can store entire like servers, like like game servers on like host servers. So it's not like pictures. Pictures are pretty easy to do that. Like we have much like better technology than just storing pictures. It's just like the security of it. Like, is it safe to do it on cloud right now? Is is it like even viable to store your entire OS on a cloud and like have it ensured that it's not going to get hacked easily? Because it's a lot harder to hack physical components than stuff in the cloud.
Yeah, for sure. Cybersecurity is definitely something. It's definitely a huge concern when it comes to cloud.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I guess before we end it off, going back to the physical storage world, um, what do you think are some things to consider when getting a storage? Like, you know, when someone wants to buy storage, besides budget, of course, what are some things they should look for within, what they're trying to buy?
I
I
mean,
mean,
we've generally just talked about this.
We
That was the
have.
entire. We've
Yeah,
generally
we
talked
sort
about
of
all this
have.
before,
Yeah, we actually
but
sort
I
of
guess
did.
it
yeah, I guess as a
it's
rundown.
literally just how much stuff do you want to hold, what are you going to be holding in it, and its importance and that sort of stuff. Meaning, do you want it to be fast? Do you want it to load fast? Do you not care how fast it loads, etc. Um, how again the speed at which you receive information, and yeah, and how easy it is to install. Yeah, whatever you're installing, SSD versus HDD, and how easy it is to install with M.2 and SATA and that sort of stuff.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean it yeah, it really depends. The capacity is the biggest thing for you to consider other than budget, just because the capacity and what you're gonna put on it. Speed you already know, like SSD is gonna beat HDD. And ease of installation, I guess like M.2 is a lot better. Like not only because it's easy to install, but it has like a little bit more like pros to it. But I mean if you're gonna get like I don't know, a SATA 3 SSD, and an HDD also uses SATA 3 connections, and there's no M.2 connections for HDDs. So like I don't think ease of installation would really affect you there, unless if you're just comparing M.2 NVMe SSDs with just SATA 3 connectivity SSDs.
All right, so that's it from us. If you guys have any comments, questions, etc., contact us either in comments or social media or whatever it may be. Then I wanted me to ask you a question about when you guys think cloud software is gonna end up becoming ridiculously prevalent in in the modern day where you don't need SSDs, HDDs like we were talking about before. Uh, we're probably going to put a poll up on our social media so you can answer that there. But in the end, thank you guys for listening. Stay tuned for next one.